What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Brooks. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. You heard me say it. Brooks Glycerin 20. Now, before we get into it, guys, please, if you haven't done so already, if you want my unbiased opinion, on these shoes, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. Also, click the bell for notifications, so when new videos are dropped, you will be first notified on those videos. Also, at the end of this video, if you enjoy it, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithm so we can reach a much broader audience. Also, if you have friends that might be interested in these shoes, in the Glycerin 20s, please share this video with your friends. Might really help them out. So again, I am a heavier runner. I'm not somebody that's a professional runner. I don't run marathons professionally or even semi-professionally or whatever. I am, as Kofuzi would say, I'm a non-elite runner. I'm a bigger guy. I tend to do some weight training, some lifting, all that kind of stuff. And I also enjoy food quite a bit, so we'll also leave it at that. But I have lost some weight over the past couple of weeks, so we're just going to leave that there. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the Brooks Glycerin 20. I'm a little late to the game. These came out, I think, middle of last year with some pretty significant updates for Brooks standards. So to give you a little background on Brooks for me, I'm not a big fan of Brooks running shoes. And it's not because they build a bad shoe or anything. Like, their shoes are very high quality, very good build construction. They're going to last you a long time. And to be completely fair, they are super comfortable shoes. Let me throw that out there right now. Brooks shoes, for me, just don't excite me in any way. For one, their designs, with the exception of the really funky designs that they do on their shoes, like this one here, which is the, I think it's called Brooks for Breakfast or something like that. So it actually has some like pictures of donuts on the midsole, which I think is just cool. It's kind of funky, and I like that kind of stuff that Brooks does. And they do that with like all of their shoes, the Ghost, the Adrenaline, all of them. They got like some funky kind of colorways to them. And I appreciate that kind of stuff that Brooks does. But for the most part, the design of their shoes are pretty boring. Also, the way that they run are typically boring. Like, they have some good foams. They're resilient. They're going to last you a long time. And, you know, maybe that's the purpose. They're just basic. But they just don't do anything that really excites me as far as a running shoe. This shoe might change my mind just a little bit about Brooks. So let's kind of get into this a little bit. This is kind of their premium max cushion, high cushion daily trainer type of shoe. It is a neutral running shoe, although it's not really like super neutral. We'll get into that here in a second. The upper here, very plush, very well constructed. I've said that before about Brooks. Very well constructed upper. The toe box is nice and wide. A lot of accommodation here. You also have a nice volume of room here, but it's not the most breathable. It does run a bit warm even on those cooler days. I didn't really feel much air kind of coming through the toe box on this shoe. Now, so I know you guys will probably ask, what about running footage? Okay, I brought my GoPro with me. It only recorded about, like, I don't know, 20 seconds or maybe a minute of running and shut off because the battery, I guess, just discharged really fast. I guess that's what happens when I get cheap Amazon batteries. Anyways, I digress. So I did have some footage, but it didn't come out. It didn't get what I wanted. So anyways, I'll just get into the shoe and what my experiences were. The upper is very comfortable. It does have a very nice padded tongue, but it is not a gusseted tongue. That being said, it does lay on top of your foot really well. I have no issues with it moving around or sliding around. It's been really good. Also, the heel collar is nicely padded. It's not overly padded like a Saucony Triumph type of shoe, but it is very nicely padded. Overall, the upper is super comfortable. It's just not very breathable. And to be honest with you, the lockdown and the way that it feels for me after my initial runs it's nothing to write home about. Like, it's nothing that's like where you get the Hokamach 4 and that upper is like, wow, like, this is amazing. It feels amazing on your foot. This is just kind of like, okay, it's attached to my foot and it's comfortable, it does a good job, but it's nothing I'm going to write home about. So just standard, very standard, but typical Brooks. That's typical Brooks for me. Now moving on to the midsole foam here, we do have a new midsole foam, and this is what kind of excited me about this shoe. It has DNA Loft V3, which is a nitrogen-infused EVA foam. Stack height on this, I believe, is 24 millimeters in the forefoot. You got a 10 millimeter drop, which gives you 34 millimeters of stack height in the heel. And it's a very wide, you can kind of see from the top view on both sides where you have some foam extending out each side in the forefoot and also in the heel as well. So it is a very stable ride, naturally stable ride in this shoe. And that's it. There's really nothing else going on in the midsole foam. And then on the outsole, typical typical Brooks, lots of rubber on the outsole here. And I'll get into some things that I wish they would do. Maybe something they should consider in the future, but you're going to get a lot of traction out of this. That's one of the things that I noticed. And the way that they kind of did the rubber here, going on the medial side, so that's the inside of your foot here, they keep this rubber going all the way down to the heel, and that provides some inherent stability in the way that you run. So if you overpronate, but you don't need necessarily a stability shoe, this is going to kind of help you. And especially the longer you run, this is where that's going to kind of help you. So yeah. So how has this shoe been running for me? So I've taken this on a couple of different runs. I've done some daily mileage in this. I've done some long runs in this. And I've done some faster workouts in it. So let me kind of go through each one of those. Daily mileage, fantastic. It compresses really well. It's not too soft. It's not too firm. Kind of fits in that middle boat there. But when you think of like a nitrogen infused type of foam, it should be bouncy. It should be exciting. I don't really get that feel out of this shoe. And I'll get into some of the reasons why I think maybe they could get some more out of this in a second. But it just doesn't feel anything exciting. It doesn't feel like it's like, wow, I'm getting that bounce, that energy return. It compresses well, but it just doesn't really bounce back like you would expect from, like, say, a Nova Blast or from, say, a Puma Deviate Nitro or even the Velocity Nitro, where you get some of that, you know, bounce back from that nitrogen, or some of the Skechers shoes. I've never ran into Skechers shoes. Skechers, I'd love to run in some of your shoes, but their Hyperburst midsole foam has a little bit more like bounce and energy return to it. This just doesn't feel like it. Like, it doesn't feel very good. Now, comparing it to maybe, say, the older versions of the Glycerin, which I've never ran in, maybe it is better, but comparatively to other shoes that are out there on the market, gonna say no. It's just not anything exciting, but it is a good cruiser. It does work very well on long efforts and those daily mileage, and it's durable. It's got a lot of resiliency, even for my heavy body weight. It's got a lot of resiliency, even over that 7-8 mile run that I've taken these through. It really, it's the word I'm looking for. It never felt like it gave out. It never felt like it started to bottom out. It always felt consistent from mile 1 all the way through to mile 8. So I got to give it to Brooks for that. It just never felt like it died out on me. Now, that's kind of the upside of it. The downside is speed work, right? If you want to use this to do some speed workout, I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't feel like when I push into the shoe that it's giving me a lot of energy return back. It feels like I actually spend more energy pushing myself into the shoe at toe off than it is giving me in return. So the speed workouts, they just feel like I'm exerting more than I should. So if I were to do a speed workout, I'd want to jump in another pair of shoes, which is not really indicative for daily trainers, but this is a kind of a high cushion or max cushion daily trainer, so I can't really fault it because it's not really made for that. But if you're looking at something that, hey, I want to do some faster pace workout, I want to do some intervals, I want to do something like that, it just doesn't feel like it has that kind of pop or that resilience or that bounce that you'd be wanting in return. something that you would get out of, say, a Nike Pegasus or the Vomero 16, where it's got that air zoom unit in the forefoot where it can kind of act as like a basketball, kind of bounce you forward. This just doesn't have that. But long run wise, fantastic. Daily mileage, where your legs are beat up and all that kind of stuff, fantastic. It's just a really good cruising shoe that is just comfortable. I found this thing to be really good at some of my slower, easier efforts. So somewhere around 9:45 a mile is my easy effort. And that's where it felt really, really comfortable. So surprisingly enough, I don't hate the shoe. I'm not a big fan of Brooks, but I don't hate this shoe. I'm actually kind of enjoying the runs that I do in this thing. So can I recommend it? Especially for heavier runners, yes, but here we are, price point. $160 is the regular price point for this shoe. I don't know if I would pick this over something like a Nimbus 24 or even the new Nimbus 25 that's coming out. I don't know if I would do that. Same thing with like a Saucony Triumph or the 19 or the 20. I don't know if I would pick this over the Saucony Triumph 20 or 19 or whichever, because I think the Triumph has a better foam that gives you a little bit more energy return, a little bit more bounce to it, even as a heavier runner. So I can't recommend this. Now, if you can pick these up on a discount, which is how I was able to acquire these, I was able to acquire these for under 70 bucks, which at that point, yes, give this a huge thumbs up for a cheap shoe. But at full price, $160, I don't think I could recommend this shoe for what it is without saying, hey, go to a Saucony Triumph, go to Nike Vomero, go to something that's a little bit, I think, better. But people love Brooks. Don't know why, but people love Brooks, and they're going to continue to go to Brooks. So can I recommend this as a Brooks shoe compared to what I've ran in, the Ghost 12 and the Revel 3? Yes, I can recommend this shoe. So if you guys like this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Never pay full price for running shoes. And as always, enjoy the run. I'll see you next time.